college student, even a leader or an upperclassman, would be better prepared to work with the students they're being asked to peer mentor if they have some training in how to work with the group dynamic and build a team and interact on that level. Nowadays, what so many group games become is just things that teachers or people do with students to break the ice, get people talking, or have fun. So many other activities are actually formed to help a group get more self-assessment, more practical development as individuals in that group than just going out and doing a game to have fun. Many of these activities are developed so that a group can actually, what I call being put in the pressure cooker, where you start off with a group that comes together. You have some of those get to know you, ice-breaking activities so that people are interacting. You start throwing in some activities that are more difficult, but the group works through it, and they work through it with the same norms that they brought into the group. And so they're going about it the same way they would in anything else, but they're not really learning anything. Then you put this group in an event or a set of events that is so difficult that not only do they struggle to accomplish it, but the group dynamic falls apart. You have the same leaders who've been the leaders the whole time that start just commanding people and telling them what to do. You have people who have not engaged in the group standing on the outside and not participating. You have other people who are accusing people in the group of either not being involved or being too bossy, and the whole thing just falls apart. And it's in that moment that you have the opportunity to take this group to the side and to have a conversation about what is going on right now in that group dynamic, what's working, what's not working, and what do they need to do personally to change their strategies in order to be a more effective and productive part of that group and help the group as a whole operate as a cohesive unit in order to accomplish these activities. And then when they come through that activity, you run them through another activity or two where they are now accomplishing new and exciting challenges as a more efficient and productive and successful critical thinking group. The training that David and I were talking about would be having a 4-hour session of team building to put the peer mentors themselves through an experience of building a team and all the facets of that, the dynamics of storming, norming, performing, etc., where a group has those dynamics of coming together. After that, having the time to work through the techniques and the facets of working with a group, how to do that from a facilitator's perspective on the outside. So initially they'd be going through it, and then following up, they would be introduced to the mechanics of how a group forms, how a group interacts, and then how, as a facilitator or as a mentor, they can work with that dynamic to help the team to interact better, to help the class to interact better with each other, and to most importantly, to debrief that dynamic in a way that there is a productive conversation going on. Hopefully the peer mentors, after having some training, would be able to conduct effective games or props like I'm describing. Once somebody understands these skills, they can plug these skills into any other scenarios. I was leading one trip one time with a group that was caving, and we had gone through this whole experience. And we went to this cave, and it was a really exciting cave because to get into the cave, you go into this culvert under the interstate, and when you come out the other end of the culvert, you're in the cave. And the cave is very narrow and has all these natural bridges up above you that are eroded through there. And it takes about 2 hours to go through it. And we came to this one part about an hour and a half or so in, and I knew the place was there where the ceiling comes down very low and you have to get down and crawl through about 15 feet to come out, and then it's about 10 minutes out the rest of the cave. While we were in the cave, it started raining and storming outside, and the water level came up. And when we got to that low place and I headed down into there, the standing water had risen to the point where at the end of that 15-foot crawl, there was about the last foot where the water level was very near the top of the cave, and you actually had to turn your head to keep your nose and mouth above the water level and breathe through that last foot section, and then you came out. And I knew that the group wasn't prepared for that, so I called back through the cave and I pointed out, I got the attention of one person in the group. I pointed out the circumstances and I said, look, I'm turning it over to the group. You guys talk about it and decide what you want to do. If you want to turn around and go back, I'll come back through and we'll go the hour and a half back. If the entire group wants to work through this and come out the other side, then we've only got 10 minutes to go to the end of the cave. So he looked in my light and he saw what was going on, and his eyes got really big, and he turned around, he explained everything to the group, and they sat down and they had a conversation for about 15-20 minutes, and then he yelled back down the tunnel and he says, the entire group wants to try it. And so the entire group tried it, and all of them supported each other, they worked together, they encouraged each other, they showed each other the way, they all got through that very tight space and out the other side. I happened to have packed Snickers bars with me, so as each one came out of that hole, I handed them a Snickers bar. And when they all got through, the entire group had huge grins on their face. They felt extremely accomplished, and they felt together and bonded as a group. So it's the same model of team building that we use in that scenario, and that's what a trained facilitator can do for a group. So we don't have an entire class to do this, but at least given some time, 16 hours with the peer mentors would give us an opportunity to give them some of this training so that they are more equipped and skilled to contribute to the Ozark seminar process.